Veer, you can start.
Yeah. Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, all the doctors and all the engineers. A very good evening to all of you. I will welcome you, all of you, for the interactive session on air conditioning and air ventilation in COVID era. It is jointly organized by Indian Medical Association, called as IMA, and Indian Society of Heating, Refrigerating and Air Conditioning Engineers, ISHRE. So a very warm welcome to all of you. I very warmly welcome my co-moderator, Dr. Ketan Mehta from IMA, and request Dr. Mehta to start with the proceedings, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mir. A very good evening to all of you. Friends, as you know, this is a very unique program which we are starting today. And before we start, may I request our honorary president, IMA headquarters, Dr. Rajan Sharma, a leading orthopedic surgeon from Haryana, of course, who doesn't need any further introduction, to welcome all the delegates. Over to Dr. Rajan Sharma, sir.
Good evening, friends. Good evening, everybody. Thanks, Dr. Ketan. Without any formalities, I would first like to acknowledge and thank ISHRE and Mr. Rishi Mittal sir, Mihir, Vishal, Gautam, and Shankar, and Jayesh Bhai, Jayesh Leni, who has been instrumental in organizing this. And this was something which was raising a lot of questions in my mind, and I was particularly worried about it. So I thought this was the right opportunity, and when I thank ISHRE to have taken the initiative and approached us, so that what we can do in the COVID crisis and post-COVID crisis, and as we were discussing, so it was already that they have done it for CPWD and the bigger hospitals. Yes, they would be doing it. But I would also want it to be done for single and couple doctor setups who have their clinics, who have their multiple OPDs, wards, OTs, and reception areas, how to go about it. What about ACs from in the OTs from positive to negative pressure, role of humidity? These all questions, role of HEPA, will the normal HEPA filters work? Will do 4 to 5 exchanges per hour, or maybe more than 15 or up to 25 exchanges per hour would be required. Can we use pulse lavage or thermocautery in this? And if the surgical team uses a respirator instead of an aerosol, instead of a 995 in higher aerosol, are we safe because of the aerosol contamination? And also about the safety of laminar airflow. But first, I think the majority, as we understand, are window ACs, split ACs, who have central ACs. Today I was discussing my alma mater medical college. They said, what will happen to our central ACs? I think their engineers also part of this webinar. So these questions are haunting everybody. And we definitely look forward to ISHRE to find us alternatives, keeping in mind the current crisis and how much we also have to look at the economic aspect of it. A common adage in Hindi, I would say, Sasta Sundar Tikau, which should work to the benefit of every person and to be easily implemented across the country. We don't need to trouble you for every place, so that these innovations, once become a white paper after this, can be shared with the members, which are understandable to the local expertise available also. Because practical implementation of anything is very, very important in our setups and the diversity in our country which is there. I once again thank you everybody, and please let's go ahead. And who all have joined, I welcome them all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rajan Sharma, for those lovely words and a perspective which is given from the medical fraternity. I think that makes a lot of, it sets the tone for today's discussion. So without much ado, let me welcome on this webinar, Mr. Richie Mettal. He's our National President of ISHRE. Over to you, Richie, sir.
Thank you, Mir, and thank you, Dr. Rajan, to setting the discussion and the opportunity given to our society, ISHRE. It is our pleasure to participate jointly with the Indian Medical Association to discuss about air conditioning and ventilation for your workplace, as you rightly say, hospitals, clinics, through this webinar. I would like to quickly brief about ISHRE. I would like to thank ISHRE COVID Task Force, which was set up by ISHRE Technical Committee with chairs of technical groups preparing this document along with ISHRE Headquarter and IT Committee, which has worked more than 5 to 6 hours every day before the launch of this document, which was done on 30th of April. ISHRE is Indian Society of Heating, Refrigerating and Air Conditioning Engineers. This was founded in 1981 at New Delhi by a group of eminent HVAC&R professionals. ISHRE today has over 30,000 HVAC&R professionals and student members. ISHRE operates from 43 chapters and sub-chapters spread all over India. In our endeavor to disseminate knowledge, ISHRE is not stopping while fighting COVID and have already started using digital platform to reach and connect with members. Since the beginning of lockdown, ISHRE is conducting around 8 to 10 webinars for our members to freshen up the knowledge at the comfort of their home and to reach the societies, allied societies, associated societies to disseminate the knowledge. It is led by the team of elected officers who are members of the society working on a voluntary basis and collectively called the Board of Governors. So, sir, whosoever you see here, we are all volunteers. Quickly, the objectives of ISHRE are advancement of art and sciences of air conditioning and related services, continuing education of members and other interested persons in the said sciences through lectures, workshop, product presentation, publication, expositions, and now the webinars. Career guidance and financial assistance to students of the said sciences, encouragement of scientific research. I would like to thank each one of you to participate in this digital platform. And this document would be available for free download. We will display the slide and you can download from our website. And I'm sure with the knowledge that ISHRE is having on Dr. Rajan's question, Mir is going to take over and take out the journey, and then we'll have a question answer session. Thank you. Over to you, Mir.
Thank you so much.
Sir, you have to give us the link. Riji sir, you have to give us the link for our circulation.
I will do that, sir.
Yes, sir.
It will be given after the call. We will send the link.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much, Richie sir, for those lovely words of wisdom and a lot of knowledge about ISHRE. Let me introduce, dear friends, our panelists, and the first person on the panel is Dr. Ketan Mehta. He's my co-moderator and he's past Vice President of IMA Maharashtra, member of IMA Mumbai West, and he's a consulting physician at Asian Heart Institute of Mumbai. Dr. Ketan, may I please request you to introduce your panels from Indian Medical Association, please. Ketan, you need to unmute. Yeah. Go ahead, Ketan. Oh, you have again muted yourself.
Yes, thank you, Mihir. We have eminent panelists with us from Indian Medical Association. With us, we have Dr. Jayesh Lele, who is a eminent personality in Indian Medical Association, be it at national level, state level, chapter level, regional level, at any level. At present, he is the Honorary Secretary of Hospital Board of India. He has been a past president of IMA Maharashtra State, and he was also on a committee of Maharashtra Medical Council. We welcome you, sir, for this interesting panel discussion. There will be another panelist who is probably not able to join, but will be joining through audio, and that is none other than our Honorary General Secretary, Dr. R.V. Ashokan, who would be joining us from Kerala, and he is again a leading physician, and probably we will be able to hear some answers from him through audio. So we welcome you, Dr. Ashokan, sir. And we have one more panelist with us, Dr. K.K. Agrawal, who is the president, CMAU and Heart Care Foundation. He has been a past president of IMA Headquarters and a very leading physician and cardiologist from New Delhi. So he would be joining little late, so we welcome him also. And of course, with me, we have the committee from Israel. And to introduce today, may I request Mr. Mihir Sanvi, who has been a past president of Israel Mumbai chapter and who is also a member of advocacy committee of Central Israel. May I
Thank you
request
so
me to go ahead with?
Yeah, thank you so much, Ketan Bhai. Let me introduce the other members of the panel. As I already introduced Mr. Richie Mittal, who is our president, current president. He is a B from BIT, Mesra, followed by MTech DCE. He's part of ISHRE since 1987, holding various posts, and now he's president of ISHRE. He's also board member of Indoor Air Quality Association USA. He is member of council representative of ASHRE and patron of Bitosa Global, along with being HVAC consultant under the name of Overdrive Engineering Private Limited in Delhi. Another eminent panelist from our side is Mr. Gautam Baliga. He's a director at Opal HVAC Engineers Private Limited, which is a design and build firm in HVAC of healthcare, pharmaceutical, and industrial spaces. He's a chair of Healthcare Technical Group of ISHRE and part of COVID Task Force. We have Mr. Vishal Kapoor. He is mechanical engineer from IIT Roorkee, 1991 batch. He is MBA from FMS Delhi, 1993. He's 48 years of age and is engaged with HVAC industry for last 23 years. Managing director of Mayo HCP Air Systems Private Limited. He's currently a technical chair of ISHRE and also heading the COVID task force. We have Mr. Sankar Rajsekaran. He is MTech from BITS Pilani and certified professional for National Air Filtration Association USA and Clean Room Testing Certification Board UK for 31 years of industrial experience with 24 years in air cleaning technology field. Technical director at Technical Director of True Air Concept Private Limited, Chair of ISHRE Technical Group on air filters and member of ISHRE COVID Task Force. So dear friends, this is our panel today. And now I hand over to Dr. Ketan to take it forward, please.
Thank you, Mir. Friends, we are here today to discuss about the COVID-19 era and how to use the air conditioning and air ventilation. We know we all are passing through this pandemic of COVID-19, which is caused by SARS-CoV-2. We are aware about it. We know it is an airborne transmission to some extent, most largely happening through the droplet infections. It's such a smaller particles ranging from 80 to 160 nanometers, which has really created the havoc all over the world. If you see, as of today, globally, we have got 3.3 million cases. And in our India itself, we have already crossed 35,000 cases, of which 10,000 cases are from Maharashtra itself. And probably Mumbai is 7,000 cases. We know the mortality globally is to the tune of 7%. Luckily in India, we get the mortality rate of 3.5%, which is very good. There are multiple reasons behind it. The issues are that, this disease we can control it. So we know that at so many issues, the medical practitioners are having hurdle in that, and we are going to solve that. So today we have this eminent panel with us. So I would start with Dr. Jayesh Lele sir, who is being obviously the secretary from the Hospital Board of India. Sir, you must be getting various calls from nursing homes and other hospital owners about the difficulties they face during the present time of this COVID era about running of the hospital. So what are the issues commonly seen by them, sir?
Yeah, thank you, team, and I'm very happy to be on this panel. I will straightway start. When this COVID announcement came somewhere in the month of Jan and Feb, there was a lot of issues being talked about, that this is through airborne, this is through droplet infection, this is through whenever the patient comes, we do not know. Like say, I'm a family physician. Any patient walks into my clinic doesn't know whether he's a COVID positive or negative. And so what my understanding with the patient is, I look at it and think that whether he will be positive or not, whether to send him for test, because in the beginning in March we never had any tests. So similarly, since at the secretary's level, we had calls from various hospitals, see wherever there is a OPD, whether it is air conditioning to be switched on, off, and there was some time that in the OTs also the infection can carry, because that's why when the lockdown came, all the hospitals were told that all elective surgeries to be stopped. So we have a various waiting area, you can say, then from the general reception area, small ward, single room, double room, and the specialized OT. Everywhere we need to have a specific arrangements made for the whether to have the AC, which kind of filters to use, which kind of lights to use. So all these things are some. It was very difficult for us to find and give them the answer. It was not available also, that sorted out. So I think this is the points need to be discussed by our engineers and tell us that how to go about it step by step.
Yeah, okay. So probably now Mihir can take the forward about the technicality, because today we want definitely much knowledge which is required from this special technical team. So Mihir can take the forward.
Sure, sure. Thank you so much, Dr. Ketan. Thank you, Dr. Lele, for giving a medical perspective. So let me, to start your few of the questions, let me get in Mr. Vishal Kapoor, who is heading this COVID task force, and he's our presidential member. Vishal, I think perhaps, as we always say, nation wants to know, is AC safe and can be used in healthcare application?
Namaskar, good evening. At the outset, I think it would be wrong if I don't acknowledge the entire medical fraternity that's joined our call today, because the services that they're rendering to the nation in such tough days, in such a tough situation, facing infected or not infected, but risky patients all the time, 24/7, all the healthcare workers in the field out there. I think the entire nation bows in front of you, and a heartfelt thanks to you from all of us. We are all sitting at home and can give all kinds of gyan possible, but you are the people who are actually serving the nation to the best possible levels ever. Now, moving on to the subject of air conditioning in specifically to do with healthcare. Now, please understand, what does air conditioning offer any built environment, any space, whether it is a hospital or whether it is an office? It ensures your temperature, it ensures your humidity, it ensures your air quality. I'm talking at very, very basic points over here. Now, without control on temperature, humidity, and air control, you can even forget temperature for a minute. Yes, you can be a little uncomfortable as a visitor, as a patient, as a doctor in a hospital for some time. But humidity levels, if they are not controlled, both on the lower side as well as on the higher side, can cause several other problems. It's a known fact that hospital-acquired infections, India is one of the leading countries in the world on the number of hospital-acquired infections. And that's all happens because the air quality has not been maintained as required by protocol for a healthcare application. So we do need air conditioning if we need to maintain the humidity as well as the air quality. I'm forgetting about the temperature for a minute. The band of humidity that is suggested technically as right being is a band of between 40% to 70% as being the band of humidity that needs to be maintained. Now I go a step further. How do you ensure a hospital is able to maintain its protocol of various applications, various facilities inside? There are three very cool mantras. There are many other formats, but to make it very, very simple, there are three basic things. The three things are ventilation, pollution, ventilation, filtration. These are the two most critical things that is needed. And the third comes in a hospital is pressurization, which all of you are hearing a lot in the last few days of negative, positive, etc. How do you achieve ventilation? How do you achieve right filtration? How do you pressurize an area if you do not have a mechanical system? The only way to achieve that is through a mechanical system, which is what we call a HVAC seating system, a heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system. If you do not have an HVAC system, if you do not have an air conditioning system, you will not be able to achieve the right ventilation. You will not be able to pressurize different areas at different levels, and you will not be able to filter the air as what is required as per the protocol. Hence, yes, air conditioning needs to be run and should be run taking all the precautions in hand, because without that, there will be bigger problems on hand than what could be.
Thank you, Vishal, for that insight. Now, the subsequent question, which is there, I mean, as Dr. Rajan said, that I mean, for those standalone clinics and for various other kind of smaller operations which are happening, uh, would you be able to guide on what are the different form of air circulation devices for a particular room, say from the air inflow and outflow perspective, whether it is in AC coolers or fans or various parts?
A very difficult question to answer in 2 to 3 minutes. So I will just restrict myself to the air distribution side of the business. I will not talk about how cooling is generated, whether it is generated through a chiller plant or a VRF unit or a split AC. Let's forget that. That is not important over here. All that we are concerned right now is the indoor space. How is the air generated? So you'll have either a window AC or a split AC. Split AC could be your high wall mounted or cassette kind of a system, which you see, which is very, very common, as was rightly said by our esteemed panelists, that you have those systems installed in multiple installations across the whole country. Well, everybody cannot afford a central plant, or the size of the hospital is not large enough to have a central plant. So you can have systems which we call as split and window ACs, which are basically recirculating system. They're just recirculating the same air in that room again and again. They're not doing anything else. Then they'll have very simple filters installed to do a very, very basic level of filtration. And that is how it is working. Now, the moment you go to the next level, which are what we call as ducted systems, whether it is a chiller based or a non-chiller based, I'm not bothered about that. It's a ducted system. That means you have air being distributed through a duct in the premise, which will go to medium size or larger hospitals where they have ducts running and distributing the air in the whole system. Technically speaking, those are also recirculating, because you are picking up the return air from that room and throwing it back to the unit to be cooled. In some specific applications, like some OTs or like in the isolation rooms, you do not recirculate the air, you just throw the whole air out. But in majority of the places, you will be recirculating the air. So these are the basic systems that is installed over there. Now, what is needed to be taken care of, whether it's a COVID time or a non-COVID time, from a healthcare perspective, what needs to be taken care of? You need to take care that the air quality inside is maintained. You can only maintain the air quality properly by two things. One, you have to bring in outdoor air. Even in a room with a window AC, even in a room with a split AC or a ducted system, there are ways and there are means of bringing in the right amount of outdoor air, which can be done even now in a small clinic who's running with some few 10, 15 high wall ACs installed. It is always recommended to have outdoor air coming in. It is recommended to have minimal exhaust going out through the back of house, like toilets and etc. Without that, if your exhausts are not operational, you will not be able to achieve the right pressure differences between outside and inside. You can easily achieve filtration levels. Now, you might ask, if I have an area where I have only a window AC or a split AC, how do I filter my air? You could look at using a standalone room air cleaner, as long as you're using the right one. As long as using the right one, which is what we normally recommend, a HEPA based or a media filter based kind of air cleaner. We will be talking about that, I think, in the slides ahead. So you can do filtration of the air inside by using those kind of devices which are standalone. In the larger units, in the ducted units, there are other ways of adding filtration and improving that. But a basic concept is bring in outdoor air, even if it is as simple as opening your window. If you can do nothing else, run your window AC, keep your window open at 4 or 5 inches. Even now in my own bedroom, whenever I sleep, we all have split ACs in a house. We don't have large central plants in the houses. I always open my window by 3, 4 inches and sleep. Not just COVID times, around the year. Open the window by 3, 4 inches. If you have an exhaust fan attached to your clinic, to your toilet, and your toilet attached to clinic, put the exhaust fan on with the door open a little bit, or ensure the air is flowing through. You are achieving outdoor air ventilation happening in that room. So there are ways and means of addressing all these paraphernalia, but the most important thing is get in some outdoor air, ensure there's exhaust working, improve your filters to whatever extent you can, and do not use a product which is not correct. That is very important. Do not just be guided by wrong things being there in the market, unfortunately. Understand it, read about it, and then ensure that you're buying the right product. This is in crisp what I would summarize it as.
Thank you so much, Vishal, for that perspective. Over to you, Dr. Ketan.
Yeah. So here I would like to know, over you said, because if somebody asks it, because most of quite a few, there are tier C and tier D cities, people are sometimes maybe using the so-called air coolers also. So, if there is a selection between air coolers, air condition, and the fans, which one they should go in order of preference between the three?
Mr. Ketan, there is no order of preference, frankly. It firstly depends on the budgets, how much the person, what is the capital he wants to.
If we leave
Sorry?
aside the budget in terms of scientifically, which one the preference would be between the three in the present, whether it will be air condition, air cooler, or fan?
Ideally speaking, we would recommend an air conditioner because you can control everything much better over there as compared to a normal fan. With a fan, there is no guarantee that you're able to have outdoor air coming into the premise inside. There is no guarantee that you will be able to achieve the right amount of ventilation inside. So with an air cooler, there are negatives or humidity levels going beyond a particular level. Also, nowadays, a lot of air coolers are being installed in our country, which are again recirculation type. Means they are not taking in outdoor air. They just put like a portable air cooler inside the room and they just cool the air again. Those are not at all advised even in our guidance document. So between the three, the preferable would be to have an air conditioner so that you're able to control everything from the temperature to the ventilation rates far more effectively as compared to anything else.
Yeah,
So message
Dr.
Dr. Sharma.
Yeah, Dr. Sharma, please.
Vishal, thank you so much for your clear talk. But I have a question. In most of these places, we have air-conditioned private rooms and air-cooled wards, where we are using the traditional desert coolers. That desert cooler domestic industry, more or less OPDs and OTs are split ACs or window ACs, whatever it is. But do you advise that now those desert coolers also have to go vis-a-vis because they use outside air since they are installed outside? So your views on that, please.
So yes, you're talking about a centralized based air cooler, the large air coolers, which is
No.
having a duct running and supplying air into multiple rooms.
No. One room, one desert cooler.
Okay. So the only way so I understand, Dr. Sharma. The only way of handling that, if you have one room, one desert cooler, it has to be the exhaust also from that room has to go out directly.
Yes.
So when I'm taking in air from outside into that room, firstly, as you rightly said, the air cooler should be taking in 100% outdoor air, not from within the room. Number two, ensure that the air from that room itself goes out and not gets back into the other corridors or the other parts of the hospital. It is exhausted directly out from that particular section. Create a toilet exhaust or open another window so that the air goes out directly from there. These two things, there are other things like ensuring the water of the cooler is always kept clean and disinfected. Those are even normal criteria, but as long as you're doing that, you are fair enough. But there are hospitals where even the air cooler is ducted. I've visited some such hospitals where you have an air cooler supplying air into multiple 6, 8, 10 rooms. This is a very common concept in North India and Central India. There also, the room can be supplied by that air, but the exhaust of that room should be taken out from that room itself. So you supply 500 CFM into a room, for example, a particular air quantity, you should exhaust it out from that room itself and not allow it to flow into any other room.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mihir, you continue with other technical questions.
Yeah. I think there has been a link which is sent to Dr. Asokan. If you can, I think any one of you can talk to him and ask him to dial that.
Dr. Rajan just called. I also tried to call him, but I think he was busy. I was given him the direct number to be in the with the soundtrack in the panel.
Sure.
I'll just call.
Yeah. Okay. So at this point, let me get in Mr. Gautam Baliga. Mr. Baliga, my question to you is, in the areas of hospital, non-COVID areas, what are the specific design and operational consideration to be kept in keeping in mind for OPD, IPD, OT, ICU, etc.?
Okay, we'll start by one the various areas.
Right.
Of course, we've got the normal operation theaters, and I'll talk about what gets mostly installed in many of the operation theaters. And just just move forward on that particular presentation.
Yes.
Yeah. This is how it normally is. You've got an air handling unit which has got various levels of filtration and the cooling elements, and then you supply it into a laminar airflow, and that laminar airflow is above the table. And then you've got the return air which goes back, and you take certain amount of fresh air. You can see that in the diagram, and it is this pressure that creates a positive pressure. You can see the air is, exfiltrating into the clean corridor or airlock, and then from there on to the outside general area. This is what the normal arrangement is. But now today the demand is that during the COVID times, this operation theater should be under negative pressure. So we have given two alternatives how to go about it. Next slide. So one is converting the OT pressure in this way that you take a certain amount of air that is leaking into the clean corridor. You can see that, and then you put it outside into the general area through a HEPA filter. This is the one which is recommended by ASHRAE. So your pattern of flow as far as the operation theater itself, that remains positive. The clean corridor is under negative. So the outside area gets protected from the operation theater. We have got another option that is available. The next slide. Here we don't tamper the outside area. What we do here is that you have a exhaust system that is installed with a HEPA filter, and you take the air out from the operation theater itself, if that's a feasibility, and throw it out into the atmosphere. So here what happens is you get the air from the outside area, it passes through the airlock and then into the OT, and the OT is now under negative pressure, and the outside areas don't get affected by whatever is the patient or other things that is happening inside the operation theater. So these are the two options which are safe enough to be implemented, and you have to go by case to case what is physically possible to install. We'll go to the next slide. Next slide. Yeah, we talk of intensive care units. There is a particular temperature that is accepted, that is 21 to 23.9 degree. That is as per the ASHRAE. This is the relative humidity 30 to 60%, and now in the COVID format we are talking of 40 to 70% for various reasons. And normally it should be positive, negative, or neutral depending on the type of patients that are going to be there. And then outside air has to be minimum 2 ACPH, that is 2 air changes per hour, and the minimum recirculation of air has to be 6 air changes per hour. Now we'll talk of some specific type of intensive care units. The positive pressure ones are the ones which are for caring for large number of immunocompromised patients. And if it is for COVID patients, then the whole thing has to be under negative, and then no recirculation of air is acceptable. And as a general practice, the return air has to be towards the the lower side of the room. And so this is the basic detail of converting it to a COVID type of thing, negative pressure. Next slide. Then we have got the emergency rooms. Emergency department is the point of entry to a hospital for undiagnosed patients, of whom many of whom will be carriers of infectious disease like tuberculosis or have other medical conditions. In today's context, it could be even a suspected COVID case. So emergency rooms will need to have AC systems that need to be very rugged and with minimum maintenance so that it can be used 24/7. And the recommendation for emergency rooms, waiting areas must be 100% exhausted. If with recirculation, if anyone is contemplating recirculation, it has to be HEPA in the return air, which is to protect the patients and staff from infectious patients. Next slide. No, I think this is as far as the particular rooms that you mentioned. Apart from this, you mentioned about OPD, and IPD. Basically, many of these rooms are served by, what Vishal mentioned, high walls or cassettes and all that. We have to ensure that the level of pathogens in these particular areas is kept down by having certain amount of fresh air coming in, either by improvised method in this context or a permanent method in the future. So you have to have a fresh air and you have to have an exhaust in these areas to make them safe. I think that covers the various types of rooms that you mentioned, Mir.
Thank you so much, Gautam sir. I think that was a very elaborative answer. Let me get Shankar sir in at this particular point. Shankar sir, my question to you is, do we need to have any specific design consideration for COVID isolation area?
Before that, Mihir, Dr. Sharma wants to make some comment.
Yeah, please go ahead, Dr. Sharma.
Sir, like in the current emergency rooms shown, generally such have roof air ducting system. So do we need to go in for a change and install split ACs? Or the split ACs might need a definitive from the current of new filter change?
What we are recommending is in the emergency room, you should have a 100% exhaust. So the question of recirculation should not be there. That might give you a far better result. But if at all you don't have this 100% exhaust as a format that is available, and you've got these existing high walls and cassettes, then so be it. Then you have to have this negative pressure and exhaust as much air as possible, and replenish it with a certain amount of fresh air.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mihir, go ahead.
Yeah, please. So Shankar sir, my question to you was specific design consideration for COVID isolation area.
Yeah. Good evening, gentlemen. Can I have the slide, please? There is one slide on the isolation room layout.
Yeah.
Can you please move the slide? No, the next one, please. The next one. Yeah. So here we are. So we are talking about a specific case like COVID situation, and we are talking about airborne infection isolation room and the layout has been clearly laid down in CDC document guideline for environmental infection control in healthcare facilities 2019 document. And the situation will be like this: the room where the COVID patient will have to be positioned would be a room which will need a anteroom. This is typically what it says, which will be a small room outside the main patient room. And the whole thing will have to be under negative pressure, which is called a cascade negative pressure. So from the corridor, the air infiltration air will come into the anteroom, and from the anteroom it will come into the patient room, and from the patient room it gets exhausted outside. A part of it can be recirculated, but if it's recirculated, it is to be done through a HEPA filter, or the whole thing can be thrown out through an exhaust. And of course, the toilet exhaust will also happen. And the flow pattern of air inside a COVID patient room will also have to be such that the air will have to move from other parts of the room and directed towards the patient, which means that as the patient coughs or sneezes, as the plume of the droplets come out, we would want to have positioned the exhaust airs at a part where it is reasonably at the bed level and something at the ceiling right above the patient. So whatever droplets are there can be immediately exhausted or removed from the room so that they don't spread out into the room. So this is basically what the schematic is, which has been suggested by both CDC as well as by ASHRAE. So this is a proper designated airborne infection isolation room for a COVID or any airborne infectious disease. But normally, hospitals have maybe 1 or 2 or 3 rooms which are designated and built to be performing like a airborne infection isolation room. In today's case, where we have more number of cases, more number of patients requiring AII, that is airborne infection isolation, it may not be possible to bring all the patients here. So we have the ISHRAE guidance document, COVID document, has given a methodology where to convert a regular ICU or a regular patient room into a COVID patient room, whereby we have given a methodology to stop the recirculatory movement of air and introduce exhaust air and probably treat the exhaust air through HEPA filtration or by any other process, or leave it at a large height well above the populated areas if HEPA filtration is not a viable option also. So this option has been given there. So we can convert a regular air-conditioned patient room into a once-through system, which is a non-recirculatory system, convert it into a negative pressure, maintain about 12 air changes per hour minimum, and contain about 2.5 Pascal minimum is what the standard demands, but we would at least need in the practical scenario about -5 Pascals, more than that. And treatment of exhaust air should be considered because they could be carrying viral laden droplets. So these are what would be the possibilities to convert a regular room, standard room, into a COVID patient room. If even this is not possible, you are required to have multiple patients in a COVID positive patients in a large hall, maybe 10 patients, 12 patients, etc., etc. Then what do we do? ISHRAE has come out with a suggestion that we can consider makeshift enclosures, which can be provided just over the patient, covering each patient. It will be a very light makeshift sort of an enclosure, which will be connected to a blower system and a HEPA filter system. So the blower will suck the air from the room into the enclosure, thereby the enclosure will become negative pressure and it will be a once through system. It will be HEPA filtered and the air can either be let back into the same room or it could be let outside also, depending upon the air conditioning capability of the facility of the room. So this infrastructure, this suggestion has also been provided in the COVID document. So we have talked about 3 cases. One is where we are talking about a designated, properly designed AII room. The next one, we are talking about converting an individual patient room into a COVID room. The next one, we are talking about converting a multi-patient room, like 8 or 10 patients, into a COVID sort of a facility. When we talk about this scenario, the points to consider first is containment. We need to contain from the source. If there is a source of droplets or if there is a source of contaminants, they need to be contained and trapped as close as possible to the source. The next one, but easier said than done, we may not be able to do it like 100%. So there would be some, there is some likelihood of infiltration, exfiltration of contaminants from the point of source. So then the next topic, the next tool that is available for us is dilution. We add outdoor air. We don't want to recirculate the air because if we keep recirculating the air, the concentration is going to get built up. So we want to add outdoor air and we do dilution of contaminants and bring it to a level as low as possible. And of course, the last but not the least is of course the filtration, which could happen through the air conditioning system, or it could happen through a standalone system, as Mr. Vishal was talking about, and you recirculate the air through the room air through a standalone HEPA filtration system, and we do filtration. So these 3 concepts, when they are adequately applied, will do the trick. Will do the benefit. Will get the benefit, and it will safeguard the occupants inside the COVID patient areas.
Thank you. Another related question to it is, how do you convert a non-COVID area into isolation room?
Yeah, I think I did cover that question also in my earlier explanation. Sorry?
Anything else you would like to add into that?
No, I think I've, if there are any questions.
Yeah.
So I have just opened, for everyone's convenience, you can see on the screen, this is from the guidance document that Mr. Shankar has been talking about. This is exactly what he's trying to explain, but the book gives it in a little bit more detail.
Yeah.
Yes,
Dr.
Rajan, sir.
No.
Yes.
Sir, coming to this point, I was just searching for one thing. I believe there is a company in India which has come out with individual isolation beds, borrowing from the concept of the old mosquito nets around the beds. They have used it, I think, yes, the company's name is Nilkamal. They have come with plastic sheet enclosures. And you can create a complete isolation bed wall and you create anything. Maybe you can leave 2-3 vents up for the breathing and the ventilation and the cooling part, but that's a very good idea, that where we can decrease the viral load into the and for aerosol contamination in the ward. So just wanted to share, would it be fine? Because from the doctor's perspective, I find it very innovative.
It is, sir. It is, Dr. Rajan. This is exactly what we have suggested here also. The enclosure that we are talking about is through makeshift enclosure is typically like plastics or aluminium framework with plastic sheets or acrylic sheets, transparent sheets, so that the patient can be monitored from outside. So that is going to give a physical segregation or a physical containment. But then, since you cannot make it into an airtight compartment. And very unfortunately, because the particles are submicronic in nature, they drift around. If you don't have an air stream flowing, they drift around freely by the effect of diffusion, and it will tend to come out of the enclosure. That is the reason why we are suggesting that a negative pressure needs to be maintained and a constant airflow from the room into the enclosure would be required. But the physical partitioning of the beds is of course a very good idea, and that is exactly what we are also suggesting in the document. And we are also saying the front of the enclosure could be having PVC strip curtains, so that if any healthcare worker wants to go inside, they can go in, come out with of course the necessary PPEs. But then that reduces the spread of the virus-laden particles and the other droplets from the enclosure to the other common areas of the room.
Right. Thank you, Shankar sir. Let me get Mr. Gautam Baliga into the panel. Gautam sir, my question is, how do you convert a non-COVID OT into a COVID OT? I think that is a general question which is going to come from everyone.
If you go back to my presentation, that's what I talked about. Just
right.
Go back.
Yeah, it's already there, sir.
No, not this is the isolation room.
Yeah, the previous one.
Previous. Yeah, this is the normal OT. So for COVID, we want to make it negative. So just go back, go down. The next slide, please. See, this is what we are talking of, that you have to have this negative pressure module. You've got a HEPA filter and an exhaust fan. And what happens then is, instead of the air going out into the corridor, you're sucking the air and it is going out as an exhaust. The OT is now under negative pressure. So this is one option that is given. And the previous slide gives another option if this is not possible, because this is all ducting and all that needs to be done. The previous slide, just see the previous slide. So here what we do is let the air from the OT come out into the clean corridor, and from the clean corridor we take it through a HEPA. This is much easily implementable, and this has been done in some of the places. So this is what you do in case you want to do a COVID patient inside the OT.
Right. So my point over here is, Dr. Sharma would agree, because in a time to come, probably all the surgical team will have to get ready for operating on emergencies in a COVID positive patient. Dr. Sharma sir, your viewpoints on that.
I think Kedan bhai, his
audio is mute. His audio is mute.
No, I think he's dropped out. I think.
No. Hello.
Yeah, he's back.
Sir, so sir, in a time to come, probably we are going to, all the surgeons will have to be definitely operating on a COVID positive in an emergency surgical scenarios. So sir, what are your viewpoints on that, sir? You agree the way
we will have to create a dedicated COVID, or in those changes we will have to make because of the scarcity in testing. Please, for the timing and times to come, please consider everybody positive and operate taking all precautions, and the necessary changes in the OT are not very extensive, which have been suggested. I thank everybody, and we can do it immediately. And after that is disinfection and decontamination by sodium hypochlorite at the moment, and rest of the chemicals can come later on. But after every surgery, we will have to do it. And in emergencies, yes. And if facilities permit, create another COVID OT for confirmed COVID patients.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Mihir.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Sharma. Shankar sir, my question to you would be, I mean, of course, you touched base upon the HEPA filter part in your earlier answer, but what about the application inside the healthcare application, particularly of HEPA filter and UVGI technology?
Okay. So, Meher, of course, this is an extremely important question. There are a lot of people who have been having this doubt inside their minds. We have always known a HEPA filter to be capable of filtering out particles larger than 0.3 microns. That has been a common understanding all across. So the question is this virus, which is much smaller than that, is the HEPA filter capable of filtering out virus laden particle, which could be probably lesser than 0.3 microns? So that's the question. So to answer this question, I would want to take the audience through a small picture here, which you're seeing here. You can see on the y-axis, you have the efficiency percentage of the HEPA filter, filtration efficiency, and on the x-axis, you will be able to see the particle size in microns. As you can see that this curve is very similar to a U-shaped curve. This is very similar to the deposition of particles in the respiratory tract. The same concepts apply, like diffusion, impaction, gravitational settlement, impaction, impingement, the same concept, like how the particles settle out on the respiratory tract. In a very similar manner, the particles settle out and get trapped in the HEPA filter also. So you will have a particular particle size for which the filtration efficiency of the filter is minimal, is the lowest. So for all other particle sizes, which could be smaller or larger than this particular particle size, the efficiency would only be larger. And this is a classic character of any HEPA filter, irrespective of any make, any brand, whatever. The HEPA filter has to behave like this if it was manufactured and tested properly. So that being the case, the most penetrating particle size of a regular general HEPA filter that we use in the healthcare normally falls somewhere between 0.1 to 0.3 micrometers in size. And that is typically the size where we are also talking about this virus. And any HEPA filter will work at a filtration efficiency of 99.95% and greater for the most penetrating particle size. So that gives us to, makes us to understand that we can use a HEPA filter and expect to get a minimum efficiency of 99.95% filtration, even for the virus particles or the virus laden particles, irrespective of their size. That's the understanding that we need to get from this. And the WHO in their SARS Treatment Center guidebook, which I am referring to at the bottom of this slide, have mentioned about this, and they have very clearly said that this can be used, the HEPA filter can be used as an exhaust treatment option in SARS patient areas. So that is about the HEPA filter, and so we can, with a good amount of confidence, expect that the HEPA filter will be capable of filtering out particles laden with virus as small as 0.1 micrometers to the level of 99.95% efficiency. But having said that, there is one big caution to add. The filters would have to be tested. so that, because even if it has a microscopic rupture, which will not be physically seen, the leakage of the virus laden particles can start happening. And the fitment of the filter is also so important that it will have to be mounted and then tested at the site, so that we ensure that there is a perfect fitment without any leaks, through which the contaminants can leach out actually. So this is a caution that we need to take, but as such the HEPA filter is perfectly capable of filtering out these particles. So that is about HEPA filters. So can we move to the next slide? Because the next question was about UVGI.
I said lockdown has been extended by 2 weeks.
Yes.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah,
yeah, nationally.
While we are discussing.
Oh, okay. So let's look at this slide where I'm talking about ultraviolet in C band. We're having 254 nanometer wavelength. Whether how effective it is in removing the SARS. This experiment was done with SARS-CoV-1, and I'm giving at the bottom the study from which it was taken. So elaborate details would be available in that paper, which is available on free download. Yes, UVC is effective, no doubt about it. The WHO SARS guideline also talks about this, that we can use ultraviolet as a mode of inactivating the virus on surfaces and in air. But having said that, this particular virus has been found to have a particular inactivation dosage when it was irradiated with 4016 microwatts per cm square ultraviolet irradiation. It took, as you can see on the graph, almost about 6 minutes for almost 5 log reduction of the tissue culture infectious dose, 5 log reduction. But then subsequently it was not total inactivation, so there was again a slight bump, and at about 15 minutes they achieved complete inactivation. So partial inactivation or incomplete inactivation at 6 minutes with 4016 microwatts per cm square, and total inactivation at 15 minutes using the same irradiation dosage is what has been established for SARS-CoV-1. SARS-CoV-2 we still don't have the values. So this is about UVC, and as long as we are able to create this level of radiation intensity, it is perfectly possible and give this type of a residence time, or it's actually the irradiation dosage is a multiplication of the time of exposure and the irradiation dosage. So if you want to reduce the time of irradiation exposure, then the intensity will have to be increased. That is what it is. So, but this is what this paper talks about and says it is effective. But unless we are able to develop this type of a radiation dosage or intensity, then we may not be able to have inactivation.
Thank you so much, sir. I think it was a very detailed elaboration on the technology, and I think I'm very sure it would have answered quite a few questions, I think particularly regarding UVGI and HEPA. Vishal, I'll come to you with a question, which as a lot of people have that on their mind, is active filtration technology and its effectiveness.
Okay, I'll keep it short. Active filtration, what is active filtration? So you have a passive filtration, which is primarily your either media filters, your HEPA or ULPA or MERV, the typical media filter that you have installed. Active filters are things like electrostatic precipitators, ESPs. You have ionizers, you have ozone generators, etc. There are many others, plasma technology, etc., which are all called as active filters. They've been there for quite some time. Recently, they've been much more in the news with a lot of people promoting those technologies with all kinds of claims. What needs to be understood very clearly from a healthcare perspective, number one, a lot of these active filtration technologies will or could have a side effect. Some of them could be generating ozone, which you would all know in the medical fraternity is a very, very dangerous gas for any human consumption. So you need to be sure of the technology that we are buying is not generating any side effect. That is the most important thing in these technologies. Also, a lot of these technologies have yet not been proven in the field to be actually delivering what they are being claimed to. So that is something also which needs to be understood very clearly, that we cannot 100% be sure of achieving what they are claiming to be achieving. Third most important thing in a healthcare perspective is you cannot replace a media filter with only an active filter. Imagine the electronics of that filter goes bad. It stops working. But your patient is still inside, your air circulation is still happening through the unit without any filtration at that point. And that could be catastrophic for the patient inside the room. So active filtration, the word of caution, look at the side effects, be sure that what is being claimed has been proven with backup certification, and also whether there is a backup plan to it or not.
Thank you, Vishal, for that crisp answer. Ketan bhai, would you like to add anything, Dr. Ketan?
Yeah. Now, since there are so many points which has been mentioned, I know Dr. Lele is there. Probably in the hospital setup, we will have to have the recommendations, because our colleagues probably are not aware the changes which requires to be done, and probably from Hospital Board of India, under the guidance of Dr. Rajan Sharma sir, the suggestions can go to all the hospital owners. What are the minor modifications which require to be done? Because probably in a time to come, all of us, we need to be prepared for operating. And as Sharma sir has said, we will have to take it any patient as a COVID positive patient unless proved otherwise. So probably, Lele sir, your take on it for future directives on this, sir.
Yeah, definitely. See, already I have received some calls that we would like to have some important inputs after this. And as Rajan sir has already said, we will definitely in short, prepare the grounds. Like nowadays, you're aware that about NABH entry level and all those things are hospitals accreditation system is going on. So all those hospitals who can do this, it will be really beneficial for the patients, and we as a hospital board will definitely come out with a proper guidebook on this and circulate amongst all the members, especially this filtration of HEPA filter and certain things that OT. OT means it is used for lot of operations as well as catheterization, or nowadays we know doing a lot of implants. Orthopedic hospitals are doing it, and there you need everything crisp, important thing. We will definitely follow the advice, follow this.
So I just want to add over there, Dr. Lele, is that as ISHRE, what we have right now given a guideline document is more from the current COVID problems and the COVID concerned areas only. But we have also in the final stages of developing a very detailed healthcare guidebook from an HVAC point of view, which is going to cover all parts of a hospital, all areas of a hospital, with the logic of air conditioning, ventilation, building automation, and a lot of other things that will be there in this guidebook. This guidebook is more or less in the final stages. We expect that it will be ready for a public launch in the next few months, 3 to 5 months. Mr. Gautam Baliga, who is one of the speakers today, is the chair of that team which is driving that guidebook. We also have a few doctors on that panel, so that we also get a flavor of what is the real requirement on field. So we would be more than happy to work with the IMA on that guidebook, take it forward, also organize workshops to train the people who are running hospitals, your facility engineers, for example, or other owners who would want to be coming in to get trained. So we would be contacting you in the very, very near future, also for a detailed, because what is very clear that's come out of this learning, that healthcare facilities will have to change, will have to make changes in the medium and long term, not just what we do right on the COVID days, to be prepared for such eventualities in the future. So this guidebook is going to be serving as a very good tool for you.
Yesterday only we had thought about this, that I mean, just to tell you something small about IMA, we have almost 3.5 lakh doctors, and a majority of the small nursing home or a private clinics, maybe right from the say 50 bedded to 200 bedded, and as Dr. Rajan said, clearly state that the family of the doctors, does stay attached to the hospital. So we must make that hospital environment and family environment separate. Otherwise, we don't want that contamination to occur, central AC, especially if you're using it. So I think on that point, we would like to touch also while doing this book.
Correct.
Great.
So, yeah,
Just to take it forward from here, I think the final part of the today's discussion, I would get in Mr. Gautam Baliga. I think one of the biggest challenge what is going to come in, Mr. Gautam, is restarting hospital HVAC systems post-pandemic and during the COVID. What's your take on that? And what do you suggest?
Yeah, I think we have got a few slides on this, and we can have them on the screen. Yeah. See, the hospitals which are closed during lockdown will need maintenance for both the engineering and health safety. The air-conditioned spaces of establishments under prolonged lockdown would have the problems of fungus and molds in the ducts and open spaces depending on the humidity and temperature. Just yesterday, I had to go to my office to pay my TDS and things like that for the company, and already it was full of fungus. So I know what is the scale of the problem. So the following steps are recommended for the startup of air conditioning system. The user or owner should get the area sanitized, study the fresh air and exhaust adequacy as per the guidelines, and modify the system if possible. So today, in today's context, fresh air has become very, very important to dilute the levels of pathogens. Next slide. Carry preventive maintenance on all the units as per the manufacturer's guidelines. We have got a recipe of how to clean the filters, grills, diffusers, and internal surfaces, what chemicals are to be used. And in case the area has ducted air distribution, it is advisable to clean the ducts with appropriate methods that may include sanitization. Next. Then this is a very important part. Following the following process is recommended at startup. This is what you would do normally when you enter your own houses after a long time, after vacations or something like that. You open all the doors and windows of the space, ensure that all
Sir,
the
I'll send you the panelist link, sir.
Can I continue?
Yeah, please continue.
Yeah. Ensure that all cleaning protocols are as advised have been completed. Run the fresh air system at the maximum intake of air setting, and then you start the exhaust system. It's not the reverse way. If you start the exhaust first, you'll find that nearby air is all getting sucked in. So fresh air is first, then the exhaust. Start the air conditioning system in fan only mode. Run it for minimum 2 to 4 hours with doors open. Exhaust the system, and then install clean and sanitized filters. Start the AC in normal mode and run for 2 hours with doors open, and so on. The fresh air and ventilation should be kept on throughout the off cycle as well as on weekends and holidays in air circulation mode. Next slide. We have got various recommendations for cassette units, high wall units, tower units, ducted units. It's all in the guidebook and it can be followed. Next. You've got the same way the room fan coil units. Now coming to the air handling units, which are of particular concern because these ducts go all over the place, and there we are advising that you should go for a filtration rate of at least MERV 13. It's a particular grade of filter. If you compare it with the normal filters that are installed, it is a far superior grade, so that the filtration can at least take care of most of the pathogens that are in the air. It may definitely be not adequate to trap your the virus and things like that, but definitely with the aided fresh air that we are talking of, it can dilute whatever is there in the air. And if you find that the capacity because of the increased fresh air is going down, you think of incorporating a treated fresh air unit with its own subsidiary coil, cooling coil. Next. I think these are the basic things that we need to follow, and these are given in detail in the document. Thank you.
Thank you, Gautam sir. Vishal, there are quite a few questions which are already come up on the chat. Would you like to take few of those, please? There are lots and lots of questions in the chat.
Yeah. So can I start a few for the panel?
Sure.
My
Please go ahead.
to the panel, what is the role of air purifier? Now, a lot of people have got it air purifier at their private places and all. Is
sir.
there a role and
So as
So
I think,
panel is linked up to the panel is linked
Mr.
directly.
Ketan, like I explained earlier also as one part of my talk,
अभी मैंने
that
भेजा आपको
air
देखो।
purifier basically is a portable purifier or a fixed air purifier. It basically works mostly on a recirculation. It draws in the air from the room. There are various filtration and treatment mechanisms inbuilt into that cabinet, and then it throws the same air out after doing various kinds of filtration, treatment, etc. to the air. That's how it works. What needs to be understood are two things. An air cleaner does not take care of the CO2 levels inside a room, and carbon dioxide will keep on rising with the room closed, because if you're having an air purifier, normally that means it's a closed room, it's an enclosed room. So your CO2 levels will keep on rising in that room at a very good speed, which is also not very good for the air quality and the occupants. Secondly, as I had mentioned, in the air purifiers, what kind of technology is that air purifier following? Whether it is passive filtration or active filtration, does it have HEPA filters, or does it have some other technologies which could be dangerous from an ozone or other aspects point of view? Thirdly, the most important thing in an air cleaner, and it is very clearly mentioned in a document, is something called a CADR, Clean Air Delivery Rate, which is normally mentioned in every air purifier. How do you calculate the size of the air purifier meant for your premises? You need to check first the technology. Please check that the technology is not dangerous for you or for the occupants of the room. Once you've checked that, for the volume of the air, you need to calculate the size of the room into the height. So if your room is 200 square feet into a height of 10, that makes it a 2000 cubic feet of air that you need to purify. We recommend at least 3 to 4 air changes should be happening per hour through the air purifier. So you will get these details from the purifier catalog to ensure that at medium speed of the purifier, not necessarily at the high speed, at medium speed of the purifier, you're able to achieve at least 3 to 4 times changes of the air in your room. That means that is the right capacity of air purifier that you should buy for yourself. Don't just look at the catalog, says this room is meant for 200 square feet, 500 square feet. That is okay, but double check everyone at their own front as to what is the right size and the right technology. But please note, it is not a replacement for outdoor air to be brought into your room. You have to bring outdoor air into your room nevertheless.
so maybe we can take the question?
Dr. KK sir is trying to join. Just ask your team to talk to him.
Yeah, sure. Jitendra, if you could just help.
Sorry?
Yeah.
Vishal.
No, एक minute. That team will call you.
Yeah.
Vishal.
Technical
Yes,
team
sir.
will help. Yeah, Dr. Rajan,
Yes, sir.
you have
Vishal.
Yes,
So
sir.
the basic moot point is an open window with the AC on is the best thing.
If you cannot bring in outdoor air through a mechanical means, the best is to bring in outdoor air through a mechanical means, through a fan and duct, treat it or not treat it, but bring in through mechanical means. We always recommend bringing in fresh air to the suction path of the air conditioning unit. That is the first recommendation. That is the best recommendation, because bringing in return air, fresh air or outdoor air directly into the room is not an ideal situation. It is a kind of a compromise, but it is far better than not bringing in any air. So if you're not able to do any other methodology of bringing in outdoor air through a ducted system or a fan system, etc., then yes, as a thing, you can still run your air conditioning, keeping your window open, and also not just window open, sir, window open with an adjoining toilet, etc., exhaust also operational.
And what is your take on air circulation button in the car AC? Hi, KK sir, welcome.
Yeah.
Air circulation button in what, sir?
Welcome, sir.
In the car air conditioning, we have this inside circulation, the outside air.
So what we actually transport and the hygiene and transport really is not part of our scope of work. But from an air conditioning perspective, what we say is that if you are driving your car, you can put your air conditioning on. and put that fresh air ventilation switch, it does bring in fresh air from outside. You would notice it when you're driving your car in a very polluted time and there's a lot of smell outside. And if you put your vent to fresh air mode, you immediately get all the smell inside. That means the fresh air is working, so it's good. But with the fresh air working, you also have to keep a window down a little bit, because otherwise you're not releasing the air from the car inside. But if you are having a common car, like one of those taxis kind of situation, it is better not to run the air conditioner, because you do not know the condition of the driver. And you also do not know who has sat in that cab before you have come in over there.
Correct. Here, I would like to have an extension of that, because now post-release, now Dr. Rajan Sharma has just said the release has been deferred by another 2 weeks. But when the people will start coming out, the use of the transportation in terms of AC cabs, AC buses, and AC trains, what should be the take on that?
As
I
I
think
said,
KK sir has to go. Yeah, please after this, but after this, may I request KK sir, because he has to go after this. May I
Sure,
please?
No,
Yes,
Sure.
Vishal, please. Sorry to interrupt you, please.
so even in air-conditioned buses and train, there is a provision of bringing in fresh air. It's not that air-conditioned buses and trains do not have a provision of bringing in fresh air. So it has to be insisted on the operators of the buses, etc., to ensure that fresh air is coming in. But yes, could be recommended to actually, especially in buses, etc., maybe not put the air conditioning on and run without that, because you are not sure of who else is inside the bus. So you are not sure of how the infection could travel from one person to X person. So from that point of view, it is better to let it go, or otherwise, if you're running the bus air conditioning with fresh air on, again, ensure that some part of the windows are kept open for the air to be also released from the bus to outside.
So this definitely reminds that in a good old time, people used to say, patient people cannot afford. So he used to say that, no, I am having a fresh air. Now, if you are really taking a fresh air, you are really from a good and from a affluent family also. So welcome KK sir for this panel, sir. You are led for these swings. Sir, we had discussed about the issues pertinent to the air conditioning and air ventilation, and we had a lot of guidance which has come from Israel. So, sir, I would like to know from you, what are your viewpoints in a future time, what the way we are going to see that COVID-19, the cases are rising, and probably we have to come back to normalcy in terms of our providing healthcare facility. So how do you see in future the issues which will pertain in terms of the issues related to air conditioning and air ventilation?
The lockdown has been extended for 2 more weeks. Just now, 5 minutes back, we have got the news.
Yes.
And but ultimately, it has to delock itself. You cannot go locking it forever, and so we have to live with it. I normally say to people is, this summer, bear the heat and do not use the AC this summer. I'm not talking about forever, but this summer do not risk out by saying that I can find out this way and open the air ventilation, etc. And there are 2 types of mask available for the public. Public is using a simple cotton mask, 2-layered cotton mask, and there are carbon mask available as a 3-layered mask for the public, not for the doctors, because they are not going to take away the infection. But the carbon layer mask will take away the smell. So if you are going in a car and if you keep all your doors, your windows open, and you can't take a risk whether because if you happen to go into an area where you have a crowded area, wherever you are, open your windows and wear a 3-ply mask with the center with a carbon, so that you're not getting the smell. That's what I say. But yes, there will be people who will be using the AC. If you're using the AC, then make sure that it opens out and fresh air is coming. It is not recirculating, fresh air is coming, and that you have both the choices in your car. Regarding, I was attending an international meeting with all the building people, and they were talking about that we have to go back to the Nightingale model of hospital wards. The original Nightingale model was large ward, ventilated, a dirty corridor and a non-dirty corridor separately, and something like we have a dome in between, like a hotel, where we have all the sides, we have the rooms, and in between we have a dome where the sunlight is coming. So they said you'll have to go back to that concept, which is not centrally air conditioned. And even if it is, then you use a window AC, but not a centrally AC. And you have totally ventilated and with the exhaust fan, which is very higher up, and in an exhaust fan in and out. In both the places, you have a air purifier, HEPA filter with that. The third thing is, at the moment, I was talking since morning. I have just chaired 9 different sessions. There was a full 9 sessions, meetings. Since yesterday, I've been organizing that, and everywhere I ask a single question: is your OTA a negative pressure room? And the answer comes is no, 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 no. Yesterday, I was doing a session with 20,000 doctors, and I did a poll, and I said, are you treating corona patients? And everybody said no. This is in spite of Government of India new guidelines that patients can be managed at home. They said no. And then we asked them, are you afraid of treating corona? 100% said yes. So therefore, with that fear, we need to, because their fear is AC. Because they say that if you go to the operation theater, in an operation theater, there is going to be some degree of aerosol. You can't prevent it. So when I spoke to those international people, and if I read Up to Date, which is our medical Bible, it clearly talks about this. If I talk to South Korean Medical Association, they said government has mandated AII rooms in every hospital. You cannot run a hospital, and they said we made AII rooms in 5 days. In India, 40 days of lockdown is there, AII rooms are not available. So the Jugadu AI rooms suggested by the international faculty is air purifier with 0.3 micron size HEPA filter with a CDR of minimum 12 exchanges per hour. Normally we have air exchanges of 3 or 6 per hour, but there are heavy duty high CDR air purifiers available, where there is still a risk because your filter is going to be having the virus, and that filter, when you change, you use your personal protective equipments, but at least you are saving yourself. Because the Singapore study says, and the Singapore guideline says, the minimum contact time between me and the patient is 30 minutes to get an infection. That means, and that explains why Kanika Kapoor did not transmit the infection to so many people, because she did not meet anybody more than 5 minutes. So if you are meeting, your contact time with the patient is very small, you are not going to. Therefore, if you do 12 exchanges per hour of a filter, which means every 5 minutes the air is changed, your chances of acquiring an infection in a healthcare setting is 0. Now, even in a central AC, it is like a COVID tunnel, because you are passing. This is what happens in Diamond Princess ship in Japan, where 44% people got infected because their AC was not. There was basically it was recirculating in those areas. Therefore, we have to avoid recirculation. We have to see to it that our exhaust also have a filter inside and a filter outside. Because if in Hong Kong, what happened was one toilet was found to be having a SARS infection, and through the toilet, through the exhaust fan, it went into the balcony of another room and it caused infections everywhere. So we need to take care of exhaust fan. We need to have a HEPA filter in front and in the back. We need to have a negative air pressure. If we can't, we need to use air purifiers, specifically in areas where we are going to generate some degree of aerosols. And regarding the hardship, when it is giving us so much simplicity, when COVID has taught us so much simplicity that the girls from tomorrow did not use a lipstick because they are going to wear a mask, no cosmetic because you are wearing a mask, you are not going to use your jewelry because it may get infected, how you are going to wash it again and again. Nobody is going to buy costly shoes because you will be wearing a shoe covers all the time. If that's so, if you're going to live with simplicity, learn to live without AC this season. And there will be problems in those areas where AC is essential. There your guidelines will come, that where you say that I have no choice, central AC is there. But my answer there is air purifier, high degree air purifier with 10 to 12 exchanges per hour in terms of area.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Agrawal, sir. Mihir, do we have time to take up few questions if they are there?
Yeah, we have a couple of questions. So in fact, rather, I mean, there is a comment which has come from Tata Memorial Hospital that our OT is negative pressure and we are operating patients with COVID-19, just for the knowledge of this panel, and they have converted a positive, I mean, OT from positive to negative pressure. That is what they have done. Vishal,
No,
Vishal, would you like?
I agree with you. I agree with you. There are many hospitals who have AII room. I never said no hospital has. Max has, Medanta has. Many hospitals have, but no nursing home have. And most of the hospitals are not equipped with all the OTs which are negative pressure. They still are operating in non-AI center. If you don't have a AII room or a AII OT, then Jugadu treatment is a air purifier with 12 exchanges per hour.
Right.
Okay.
Vishal, would you like to add
something that I want? Yeah, I just wanted to add a few things in context over here. Is that a window AC, any application, whether it's a ward or a office, etc., only works on the model of recirculation. Window AC cannot handle outdoor air beyond even 5 or 6% coming into it from whichever source. So a window AC, if you are going to not ensure that there is no recirculation and it is working on 100% air coming from outside, the window AC will collapse. Number one, the moisture levels in that room, the humidity levels in that room are going to be very difficult to handle, especially in places which are coastal like Bombay or Calcutta, etc. And because it will be drawing in very, very humid air from outside into the ward directly, and that is going to create major problems for the patients in those premises, because humidity is high moisture, high humidity is a very big enemy for anyone fighting any kind of infection, because it affects immunity levels. So those are some challenges which we need to understand of working without a center system or working with the window AC. Also, air purifiers with a large exhaust happening within the same room and a huge amount of pressure coming into the same room, the air purifier starts losing its effectiveness, because we are bringing in a lot of dirty air from outside to be handled by this air purifier. So the air purifier will get choked much faster. It will lose its efficiency much faster. Normally, air purifiers work very well when it's an enclosed room and the outdoor air coming into the room is through a treated system, filtered and treated system, so that load is not further coming on the air purifier. So just wanted to throw some more light. And going ahead, there are a lot of theories being discussed all across the world. There are different theories to the cruise liner, why the infections spread in the cruise liner, etc. But it could be a very long discussion if we get into that point over this. The main thing over here is that you need to maintain your moisture levels inside the room. Come what may, COVID or non-COVID, you need to maintain your pressurization inside the room. You need to ensure what is coming in is filtered out. You need to ensure, if you're throwing out a viral load from a room, if you're throwing that exhaust air out, it needs to be treated, as Dr. Agrawal very rightly said. You need to treat viral exhaust when you're throwing the air out. These are some criteria which you cannot do without. I've also told you the negatives of a window AC or of a split AC. It cannot take care of outdoor air load beyond a particular about a 5-6% at the max. Beyond that, it will fail. It will not be able to treat the air out, and you will have humidified, or the air will not be dehumidified while coming out of that AC, and could cause many other problems. Mihir, we have a huge number of questions, but I think we have reached the end of our time. So I do not know if we can handle those, or do we take them separately?
Maybe one or two, please. Maybe one or two, please.
Yeah, Vishal, if you could take any of the important ones, please. Okay. I hope the delegates don't mind of extension of time by another 5 or 10 minutes.
No, not
10 minutes with the permission of Rajan Sharma, sir.
Yeah,
please.
Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
already saying that.
Okay, so Gautam, you are there. I'll ask you a question. For converting to negative pressure OT, do we need to keep the OT door open to clean the corridor for air movement?
Actually, when you're having negative pressure OT, it has its own challenges. So if you can just go back to the slide, it will be really useful, because it's very difficult to explain without that. The biggest challenge is when you create the negative pressure OT, you are drawing in air from outside. And the whole idea of having a OT with all those laminar flow and all that is to protect that particular area. And if you're going to draw that, and that's why it's kept normally positive. So if you start making it a negative pressure OT, then certain things get compromised. You get all that dirty air from outside. So in that particular context, we have shown how to go about it. The first alternative was maintain that positive pressure, but that anti-room is negative pressure. So the OT itself is not compromised. At the same time, the outside areas are not compromised. It is the anti-room that handles this. If you don't have this kind of an anti-room, then you go for straight away negative pressure, and you get certain amount of contamination into the OT, and you have to live with it, or else you keep the adjoining area as clean as possible so that the OT is not compromised. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, sure. We have questions a lot about HEPA filter. So Mr. Shankar, if you could advise, can HEPA filters be cleaned, and what should be the frequency of replacement of HEPA filters?
Okay, so HEPA filters cannot be cleaned. It cannot be touched, in the sense the filtration media of a HEPA filter is so fragile, and no cleaning or no intervention. It's a fit and forget. And once the life is over, the filter will need to be replaced. So that's the first question, answer to the first question. For the second question, which talks about how frequently they will have to be replaced, it depends on the location at which the hospital is actually, the place is running. We will have to keep monitoring the pressure and the airflow that keeps moving across the air filter, across the HEPA filter. And as long as these two parameters, which means the pressure drop across the filter, the air velocity through the filter, and the filtration efficiency is in proper order as per the specification, then there is no need. But as the filter keeps working, it will start getting choked and its pressure drop will go up. And the HVAC system designer would have given a upper cutoff point to change or replace the HEPA filter, which will depend on the capability of the total HVAC system design. So once you arrive at that pressure differential, the upper limit point, then the filter will have to be changed. Or if there is any reduction in the efficiency or any contamination, then it could be considered for replacement.
Okay, thank you. There's a question with regards to air purifiers. You are saying bring in outside air, but what about the Delhi smog when the outside AQI is 400, 500, 600? So I think I just answered that question. If you're bringing in a lot of outdoor air, an air purifier will at a very fast point start failing. It will not be able to effectively filter out that level. When an air purifier is designed or selected, it is talking about recirculating the air within the premises. Bringing in outdoor air, a large amount of outdoor air for an air purifier is going to be self-defeating the whole purpose of installing the air purifier. Okay, I think I'll take a couple of two last questions. 1 second. OT, Gautam, for you, OT with laminar flow, will it be good for COVID OTs?
Yeah, the laminar flow, the airflow is from top to the bottom. So means the surgeon and all would not be breathing the air which is generated through the respiration of the patient. So laminar flow is a very good system to protect the whoever is there inside the laminar flow. So I think it's a very good system even for the COVID patient.
Okay, Shankar, for you, where do we install the HEPA filter and UVGS system in the whole system? Where do they recommend to install these?
Okay, if we are I'll talk about the HEPA filter first. If you're talking about the HEPA filter, if it is on a supply side, it will have to be at the point of discharge into the room. If it is for the supply side, like in an operation theater. If it is for an exhaust, like in a COVID patient room, it should be the first point of suction in the room. That means the HEPA filter will have to be installed at the suction side of the blower and not at the discharge side of the blower. Whereas if it is for operation theater supply air system, the HEPA filter will be installed at the point of discharge into the room, which will be the discharge side of the blower. That is about the HEPA filter installation position. Coming to the UVGI, the UVGI can be used for two requirements. One could be for surface, like if you had a COVID patient room, the patient got discharged, and you wanted to sanitize the room, you clean it up, we wash it up, we disinfect the room using sodium hypochlorite or whatever, and then for other residual contaminants that could be there, we could provide UVGI into the room, in which will irradiate the entire surfaces of the room, including the bed rails and whatnot, the other surfaces of the room. So that is one option. The other one is about if you want to you use UVGI for treating the air, which could be supply air or exhaust air. Most of the time, it is exhaust air. We don't want to be using UVGI to be treating supply air. We would be using this, like what WHO also recommends, the UVGI as one of the options for exhaust air. It could be on the, you could create a UVGI chamber on the exhaust path and irradiate the air going through it. The air will have to go at a very low velocity so that the irradiation time will be large enough, and it can be made into a UVGI chamber where it can be provided. If we are talking about UVGI for disinfection of cooling coils of the air conditioning equipment, then it could be provided on the downstream side of the cooling coil in the air handling unit, where it would be shining on the coil and the drain pan, thereby decontaminating or inactivating the bacterial or the microbial viral loads that could get deposited on the surfaces of the air conditioning equipment.
Okay, thank you. Last two questions, which I'll only answer simple questions. Can we use a split AC for an operation theatre? No. Technically, we will never advise that at all to use a split AC for an operation theatre. I know there are still some OTs in our country who run on split ACs. Technically, from an air point of view, it is absolutely a no from our side. Can a HEPA filter be installed in split ACs or window ACs? Again, no. You cannot install a HEPA filter in a window or a split AC because the drop of pressure across the HEPA filter is so high, a small AC, window AC, high wall AC will not be able to handle it. So that is why in those cases, we have said if you still have to purify your air, you will need to ensure that you have a air purifier installed, a commercial air purifier installed in that space if you still need to filter the air. So we still have a lot of questions here, but I think we're already gone 15 minutes beyond the scheduled time. We will try and address those questions separately, or even our guidance document can be referred to. In fact, if possible, we can also look at having a second follow-up session of this happening, since we now have even 2 more weeks of lockdown. So we will have more time on our hand to have a second continued session of if required. But I'll just repeat for the delegates who are listening in, the key cool mantra for a good healthcare services is outdoor air, the right temperature inside, very important, the right humidity inside the premises, filter and pressurization. Achieve that, you are good to go anywhere. Thank you, Mihir, over to you.
Thank you so much, Vishalji. Dr. Rajan Sharma, you have been part of this today's panel, and from IMA per se, can I request you that what are the takeaways, what you have gone through in this particular session?
No, it has been very interesting, but I have a request to Vishal. Since he has got 2 weeks on hand, not a few, many split ACs are there across the country who are installed in operation theatres. So think of a strategy till then, go to your research lab and think of a strategy by the time we organize the next session. But it was very fruitful. I would like from IMA, Dr. KK sir, thank you, Jay sir and Dr. Ketan, and all the panelists from ISHRE. Mihir, you for conducting it, Dr. Rishi Mittal sir, then Vishal, Gautam, Shankar, and all of you. Thank you so much. And the backroom guys who have made this webinar possible. Thanks a lot. Good evening, and thank you all for being with us. Thank you. We will be sharing a link soon with everybody with you.
Yeah, Ketan bhai.
I have suggestions. I discussed with Dr. Nilesh sir also. Probably we need to come out over a period of time the certain guidance, so which under the leadership of Dr. Rajan Sharma, Dr. Jayesh Lele, Dr. R.V. Ashokan can be passed on, because as Hospital Board of India, there will be people looking towards you, suggesting the guidelines. So with the help of ISRAE, we can come out with a fun documentation of IMA ISRAE combined, and we can take the call forward on it. So I would request Dr. Lele to take initiative.
I was told it will be ready in 2 days, and it will be a IMA document, because not only for IA Hospital Board of Members, but for everybody. And Mihir has the task of coordinating for it, and Jayesh bhai within 2 days.
Absolutely, sir. That will be fantastic. So I'm thankful to Dr. Rajan Sharma sir, to Dr. R.V. Ashokan sir could not make it. His blessings were always there. Dr. Jayesh Lele, Dr. K.K. Agarwal, in spite of his busy schedule, could make it. And special thanks to Mihir and the entire team of ISRAE. We are very much thankful to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Ketan. Yeah, Jayesh sir, would you like to say something, Dr. Jayesh?
No, I just want to tell Vishal that some questions came, or we couldn't answer that. That questions, if they are relevant and important, that can be incorporated into our guidance document. That's
Yes,
sure.
definitely.
No problem.
Would you like to?
We will be working out a version 2 of this guidance document based on a lot of learnings, a lot of further queries that have come our way in the last few days. So sometime in coming month, in the month of May, we will be incorporating a few of those changes. Also, people have talked about today in this presentation that when a doctor and the team is performing an operation in an OT, a normal operation in an OT, there are concerns about the infection that could come from the patient, in spite of it being converted to a negative room. So we are also bringing out a document by next week for ensuring some additional protection for the healthcare staff in such OTs. So hopefully in the next week or so, you will be able to see that document also coming out as an addendum to our guideline document.
Perfect. That's good.
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Warm regards and special thanks to all the delegates who have been, I think through and through, we have had a flow of more than 400 delegates on this particular webinar, and which has been phenomenal. So I thank each and every engineer, each and every doctor who has been present through and through on this particular webinar. And it was possible only because of you lovely panelists. The way you got in the knowledge, the way you got in the perspective from the medical fraternity and from the engineering fraternity, and ye jo dono ka samanvay tha, that what basically drove through this entire webinar. And Dr. Rajan, your wish is our command. Together, I think we'll sure come up with a lovely document which will be helpful to each one of us. And Dr. Agarwal, thank you so much for your words of wisdom. Dr. Lele, you are simply outstanding. Our humble apology that Dr. Ashokan could not join us. And Ketan bhai, you have been a lovely co-moderator. Really enjoyed working with you, and looking forward to more sessions together. And on behalf of ISRAE, I'm sure we'll be working very closely with IMA for the future, not only during COVID times, but even post-COVID times. So friends, these are difficult times, and on behalf of entire ISRAE, we bow down to each and every doctor. You guys have been our soldiers, you are knight in our armor, and you guys are fighting the battle on the battle front line. We humbly bow down to each one of you, and thank you so much for keeping us safe. And I mean, you have been the way you have contributed to this nation, and matter of fact, the entire world. Really, I mean, thankful to each one of you. So friends, on behalf of ISRAE and IMA, we sign off. Thank you very much for being part of this webinar. Thank you. And we would be, there were a lot of questions that where do we download this particular document? Jitendra, if you could just play that slide where they can download the document. You can just go onto this website, just click on the download, and you can get that document. Read that document. I think a lot of your queries would be answered, and on that basis, we can sure come up with more this thing. And we have recorded this session. We would be sharing link with Dr. Rajan, Dr. Ketan, Dr. Jayesh Lele, and I think I'm sure you can circulate amongst your members. Anyone have any questions or something? So thank you. Signing off on behalf of ISRAE and IMA. Please take care of yourself and your loved ones. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, team.
Thank you.
Thank you.